Ladies and gentlemen, live from Rialto, California, Mark Flores presents the Pay-Per-View Wrestling Podcast. Tonight's topic, Survivor Series 2016 and a quick peek into Wrestlemania 2017. Plus, did the internet really kill wrestling? It's all coming to a fever pitch here live on the Pay-Per-View Wrestling Podcast. Now here's your host, Mark Flores. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for joining me on another great episode of the Pay-Per-View Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Flores, and tonight we're going to be discussing a very important topic to me, to you, to all wrestling fans alike. Survivor Series 2016. It's one of those very important pay-per-views that bring along a lot of questions more than answers. It's one of the first times they're actually going to do a few traditional 5-on-5s with tag teams, the female roster and the male roster as well, both representing separately SmackDown and Raw. Not how they did in the early 1990s where they had separate teams doing separate feuds and the like. So, with the addition of the brand split earlier this year, Survivor Series is going to do nothing but help out, enhance the division of the two labels. It's going to be advertising for both SmackDown Live and advertising for both Monday Night Raw as well. Before we get into more details regarding Survivor Series 2016, I'm going to go ahead and get a commercial break going from our sponsors here. Hello, this is Mark Flores from the Mark F Podcast channel, here to let you know that this podcast episode is brought to you by Game Swappers. Come on down to Game Swappers, located at 4520 Holt Boulevard in Montclair, California, to buy, sell, and trade your current and retro video games from Nintendo Entertainment System to the PS4. Keep in mind that if you share any one of my podcast episodes through any form of social media, you'll get 10% off your entire purchase, or you'll get 10% more towards your retro game trade-ins. Follow Game Swappers on Instagram at GAMESWAPPERS. That's GAMESWAPPERS. Game Swappers. Buy, sell, and trade. Alright, perfect. Now we can get down to business. So, the main questions that we have here, respectively, with each individual match is, who's going to prevail? Will it be the Monday Night Raw team for the certain matches, or will it be the up-and-coming squad of SmackDown Live? Personally, between me, I'm pretty torn. I mean, I love Monday Night Raw so much, but then SmackDown Live has a legitimate chance to overtake it can have the claim of the power label of WWE, and that's the chance it has. SmackDown Live has a lot more to lose in this instance rather than Monday Night Raw. We all know that Monday Night Raw is the flagship show, and in the eyes of the WWE executives, the SmackDown Live is actually second tier. So hopefully a top tier pay-per-view is going to help elevate the name of both SmackDown Live and Monday Night Raw, and do nothing but help elevate the up and coming roster that it has within it. The main event for Survivor Series 2016, and I'll review it a little later tonight on the show, is going to be Brock Lesnar versus Bill Goldberg. So this is going to be the match that we've all been waiting for. I know I myself am pretty excited for Sunday as well. I didn't get the chance to see WrestleMania 20 when these two were first pitted against each other, but I know that the second go around they do have a lot of ground to make up, as I mentioned before in a previous podcast, when I actually gave an accurate prediction on the fact that they were going to face each other at a Survivor Series, by the way. Anyway, so let's take a look at the match card that we have for Monday Night Raw. And this is in no particular for Survivor Series 2016. And this is in no particular order. So we have The Miz versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental title. We have the Brian Kendrick versus Kalisto for the Cruiserweight title. Tag team Raw versus tag team SmackDown, both squads respectively. Team Raw versus Team SmackDown, the female side. Team Raw versus Team SmackDown on the male side, and then we have Goldberg versus Lesnar too. So let's take a look at the 5-on-5 women's Survivor Series match. So on the Raw side, you have Charlotte, Bayley, Nia Jax, Alicia Fox, Sasha Banks with Dana Brooke. And on the SmackDown side, you have Nikki Bella, Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, Naomi, and Natalya. What I can expect from this match card that we have, what you can honestly do with both of these rosters here, you can play the process of elimination on who's actually going to be taken out. So for the Raw side, you can automatically eliminate Alicia Fox, Bayley, Nia Jax. I don't know if Dana Brooke as the 6 is actually going to be an active member on that squad, but so hopefully that if she is, she also gets eliminated as well. So it's only going to be Charlotte, Nia Jax, and Sasha Banks. And what's going to happen here, what I'm thinking is along the lines of this match, is that Nia Jax as a heel is going to get involved with Sasha Banks as a face, and those two are going to have their own separate feuds to actually go against Charlotte at an upcoming pay-per-view. Because I know Bayley herself isn't really running for the title as of right now, so that's just one of the possibilities. So on the side of Nikki Bella, Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, Naomi, and Natalya, so you can eliminate Natalya, Naomi, Carmella, and then the same situation can be had between Nikki Bella and Alexa Bliss to face Becky Lynch. What Survivor Series basically does, for those uninitiated to a Survivor Series, there's going to be internal feuds within each team to cause a precursor for their respective pay-per-views. So what I'd like to reiterate is expect Alexa Bliss to get involved with Becky Lynch in a little tussle within themselves, and then she might also, Alexa Bliss, I'm mentioning, she might be the one to actually cost SmackDown the match. This is a great platform for the company to elevate her brand, as well as Nia Jax and Dana Brooke to a certain extent. Despite all three being green in the ring, they have all done a great job in their heel roles in such a little amount of time. I think Alexa Bliss is a couple of months away from having the jetpack actually strapped to her, so she can actually get sent all the way to the top of the card and take Becky Lynch's title. She's doing a great job as a heel, and I can't speak about it enough. From the way I'm looking at the setup here, I have a feeling that the SmackDown Women's Squad is actually going to take this, just because there's too much internal conflict within. There's too much intense rivalry. It's very adamant that Charlotte despises Sasha Banks, so on and so forth. There's a lot of internal feuds going on. There's more internal feuds within Raw than there is within SmackDown. So I just have a feeling that the SmackDown Women's Tag Team match is going to be won by them. I mean, the Survivor Series female tag match is going to be won by SmackDown. The next thing that we have on the card is going to be the Tag Team Survivor Series match, with SmackDown squad being Heath Slater and Rhino, the Hype Bros, American Alpha, the Usos, and Breezango. On the Raw side, you have New Day, Sheamus and Cesaro, Gallows and Anderson, Enzo and Cass, and the Shining Stars. So, the same thing, we're going to do the same thing that we did previously for the women's match, and we're going to eliminate, if you have all these names written down, eliminate Breezango, the Usos, and the Hype Bros, leaving American Alpha and Slater and Rhino. So, the only unfortunate thing is about these two teams is that both of those two teams are face. So one of them is either going to have to turn heel mid-match, or American Alpha and Breezango go into a little campaign, just because Breezango's trying to get over as well. So with the New Day, Sheamus and Cesaro, Gallows and Anderson, Enzo and Cass and the Shining Stars, you can eliminate the Shining Stars and Sheamus and Cesaro, unfortunately, despite the fact that I think personally they're doing a great job with the program that they got. The New Day and Enzo and Cass can possibly develop a little feud, since New Day is a tweener, so they can actually fully envelop the heel gimmick that they had there. I really don't have much to say about these match cards, because of the fact that they're so dense with so much roster, and it's not really a service to you guys when there's such a dense roster squad going up against the other squad in a Survivor Series match. There's not a lot of tension as a whole for me to decipher and to go into detail on why, so and so is feuding with this and that. All the feuds are out the window at this point. The only thing that we can take going into Survivor Series 2016 is the feuds that happen right then and there within the squads themselves. Let's see what we have here. But one thing I can promise about the Tag Team Survivor Series match is that it's probably going to be the most entertaining match on the card. American Alpha will dazzle with the movesets. Breezango will be handing out tickets beforehand. The New Day will have an opening segment. Sheamus and Cesaro will be confusing and pretty hilarious because they'll be tagging in and out with each other. Enzo and Cass will be dancing and possibly cut a promo as well. And then the Hype Bros will be exciting as they always are. They're just very, very hype. More specifically in regards to Mojo Rawley, who looks like he drinks a couple Red Bulls before every match. The match is going to have this match will have the most enduring pop of the night. I think it's going to be a consistent, entertaining match, thus creating not just one single pop, but a long-standing amount of applause for these guys going into the match and from the end results. From what I have as far as a prediction on the men's, the Raw men's squad and the SmackDown tag teams men's squad, I have the Raw men's squad winning this match specifically, just because it helps elevate the Raw tag team brand, which is helping out. But nonetheless, it'll be a great showcase for the SmackDown tag teams to be put out there as well. Alright, the next match that we have here is the Brian Kendrick versus Kalisto. So as I mentioned before in previous podcasts, the issue I've had with the Cruiserweight division has actually been coming to form. The mainstream audience has been so disassociated with this program here is that they needed to bring Kalisto into the mix. The only thing that this does, don't think of it as a bad thing, guys, this actually helps out the Cruiserweight division. And the best part is that it doesn't bury Kalisto, it doesn't bury Brian Kendrick at all. It actually helps elevate both of them. By Kalisto facing Kendrick, it helps the division more. Stipulations are added, and it's actually bringing more attention to the division in particular, which is beautiful. I personally believe that the Brian Kendrick will probably get one of the face cruiserweights to help out and retain the title, just because I don't see the Cruiserweight division all heading over to SmackDown Live when you only have a 2-hour show to deal with. They're not going to change SmackDown Live to a 3-hour show to accommodate the Cruiserweight division because they would have had to announce that beforehand. What I can promise you between the two is that the match is going to be a great match. The opponent, the only gripe I have about this is in terms of the storyline is that the opponent is too left field for him to actually attain a victory. And I'm speaking about Kalisto specifically. Kalisto has a random program with Brian Kendrick, and now we have to deal with the feud that's going on, and it's basically almost a week and a half feud that's barely developed. which brings me to my next point, is I believe that this angle between Kalisto and Brian Kendrick is also rushed a little bit, just a tad. But angles aside and storylines aside, I like the Cruiserweight division. I like every match they put on because they all have something to work with. They always have there's some botches here and there, of course, but there's that in every match that happens, some sort of miscommunications, so on and so forth. But with Brian Kendrick and Kalisto, both of these guys know how to work with fellow cruiserweights, so it's going to be a great match, in my honest opinion. So the next match that we have here, by the way, for the Brian Kendrick and Kalisto match, I have Brian Kendrick retaining. And just to reiterate, Kalisto is just too left field for him to actually win the title. I just want to make sure you guys know that, of course, is that if you guys ever see a Rush program, it's basically either made to accommodate for injury of the person that was initially going to be a part of that program, or it is a part of something just to stall time for another pay-per-view. Same with this situation that we have here. So Brian Kendrick's going to retain against Kalisto, and that's what I personally think as well. So the next thing that we have is The Miz as Intercontinental Champion versus Sami Zayn. A lot of people are upset because Dolph Ziggler loses the title to The Miz. But you have to understand the situation that this, in terms of booking, it's like this. So Sami Zayn initially was going to face Dolph Ziggler. The thing about that is that both of them are faces. Both of them are baby faces. Having two baby faces fight for a title doesn't really do much. There needs to be an angle. There needs to be something to help motivate people to watch, and there hasn't. So an immediate title switch where you have the ultimate heel going up against the ultimate babyface, which is Sami Zayn, because Sami Zayn is one of those happy-go-lucky guys. This match now is actually a lot better in the eyes of ring psychology, in the eyes of when you're going to see Sami Zayn actually set up to possibly even win the Intercontinental title. I'll go into more detail as I explain this. So, if you looked at it from the terms of Dolph Ziggler going up against Sami Zayn, you realize, wait, like I mentioned earlier, both of these guys are baby faces. One of them has to either be heel entering the ring that very night, or both of them can be baby faces, but you're not going to get, one of the other guys gets squandered in the mix. With The Miz winning the title, now you have heat going on to The Miz. The Miz takes that heat, takes it to Survivor Series. People are going to boo him. He's going to get introduced first. Then people are going to forcefully, and just because he's an actual cool guy and everything, they're going to be cheering for Sami Zayn. So, now you have the ultimate babyface going up against the ultimate heel. See, that sounds a lot more presentable instead of the one I previously mentioned with two baby faces. With the victory going to Sami Zayn, like I have to anticipate, it doesn't bury The Miz at all. The Miz is like Enzo and Cass, is like The Rock, is like various other guys who can cut promos and keep themselves afloat. He's always going to be able to. People can't stand him, people won't stand him till the end of his career. So that generates heat, that generates a good heel. I think the sudden turn is possible. The reason why they probably did WWE did this sudden turn is because they need a heel to face Sami Zayn at Survivor Series. And why not get one of the best heels going today? That way, if Sami Zayn wins the title, gets a pop of the night, and he gets over, and then we're all done at square one. Then we'll see him done over at SmackDown Live. It makes sense. I think it definitely makes sense to me. I think there's more pros than cons going into this match. I know a lot of people have a lot of distaste for the match itself because Dolph Ziggler isn't going into the Survivor Series as champ, but that's what happens, you know. That is the way wrestling goes. So now we have Team Raw versus Team SmackDown, the men's portion of it, not the tag division. So then we have representing Raw, we have Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins against the SmackDown squad. AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton, and Shane McMahon. This match will be used to build more feuds within the brand itself. Same thing with the women's match earlier in the day. Having the team's self-appointed captains as heels really helps out when the faces within the group disbands or performs a mutiny within. I'm going to predict that it's going to be one of those 1 versus 3 scenarios, only to have the SmackDown brand lose against the Raw brand. And I'll get into this right now. As I mentioned in the title card of this podcast, you have John Cena. I have the prediction of John Cena facing the Undertaker at WrestleMania 2017. So with that, it's like this. And this is just pure fantasy booking. There's no confirmation from any source. But it goes like this. The Undertaker on Tuesday promised that if they lose, bad shit's going to happen. Well, we want the Undertaker to come back, so bad shit has to happen. SmackDown ends up losing at Survivor Series at the cost of AJ Styles. Undertaker comes back in a furious vengeance because AJ Styles didn't help win. AJ Styles didn't do his part as captain, etc., as champion, etc. Undertaker's furious. He then establishes a program with AJ Styles post TLC, possibly at the Royal Rumble. And at the Royal Rumble, Undertaker wins the title. After Undertaker wins the title, then begins a feud with John Cena. Now, both of these guys at this point have nothing to lose at this point. John Cena needs that 16th title. Undertaker, presumably the winner at the Royal Rumble, has the belt. Then he ends up going to WrestleMania as champion to face John Cena. John Cena and The Undertaker face each other at WrestleMania, have a great match. They both tear the house down, with John Cena winning his 16th title. And The Undertaker, as old school as I know him, and as old school as many of you guys listening to this podcast know, goes out on his back, rides off into the sunset with the last WrestleMania in Florida for him. And keep in mind, guys, that he's been around since WrestleMania has been in the single digits. He's been around since then. We've had 30 WrestleManias after that point, 30 plus. So he's been around the block a whole bunch of times. It'd be good for a situation like that. So I'm going to repeat this scenario again. AJ Styles costs Team SmackDown at Survivor Series, infuriates The Undertaker. AJ Styles and Dean Ambrose then have a match at TLC, which AJ Styles retains. AJ Styles then goes to Royal Rumble against The Undertaker, loses at Royal Rumble. Undertaker then has the WWE Championship. Undertaker takes that title to WrestleMania to face John Cena. John Cena wins the title, his 16th, and gets his WrestleMania moment. The Undertaker has his last match at WrestleMania, and like the old school that he is, he actually goes out on his back and puts the younger guy over. And that's how it's going to be. I think the whole this isn't putting a berry on Team Raw at all, because Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and Seth Rollins all have more to lose in this situation if they won the actual match. If they actually lost this actual match, they have a lot more to lose in that regard. But so now we have Team SmackDown is going to lose at Survivor Series at that point, all with the fantasy booking leading up to the Undertaker at WrestleMania. And that whole fantasy booking wasn't derived totally by me at all. It was actually derived by one of the geniuses over at the Facebook group Pro Wrestling Complaints. So the next match we have is this main event here, Brock versus Goldberg. So this match right here has the perfect ingredients to make this match a memorable one. In terms of who needs it more, it's unfortunate that WWE couldn't disguise who was going to win this match. As most of you guys may know, Brock lost at WrestleMania 20. He's the new Beast, which was once Goldberg's little gimmick. And now this is Goldberg's last match. Right there, last match should always tell you who has to win the match. The person who's going to be continuing his career. We all know that Brock Lesnar is going to have to win this. He needs to be put over by Goldberg. Goldberg needs to do his part as well, as will the Undertaker at WrestleMania 2017. And he needs to, just be put over he needs to put over Brock Lesnar, and that's as far as it's going to go. I think the match is going to have to be slow paced to accommodate the fact that Goldberg isn't as athletic as he used to be. I mean, he's almost 50 years old, so it's rightfully so that the man needs to take it down a notch. But anyway, I want to go to the main subject. The main subject of the last segment. Did the internet kill wrestling? And I have a lot of discussions with a lot of friends along the way, and the main topic that comes up is that social media killed kayfabe, social media killed storylines, social media did this, did that, the internet does this and that. But you have to remember is that the more you know about wrestling, the more you can either be involved into the work, or you can be more involved into the real aspect of it. You could totally buy into what WWE.com feeds you via storylines, or you can actually read what is going on the outside of the business, outside of storylines, and look in for yourself. Or you can meet right in the middle and actually feel both out and go from there. The internet realistically did not kill any aspect of wrestling. It's just wrestling fans becoming more aware of what goes on in the behind the scenes, what goes on with gimmicks particularly, where a guy that take for example Razor Ramon. If you guys look at Razor Ramon, if Razor Ramon had an Instagram, you would know that he was Scott Hall, and he's actually not a toothpick chucking guy from Miami, Florida. You would actually know that the guy's from the Midwest. I mean, from Tennessee, something along those lines. So you have that situation. It's either your ability to discern whether you want to fully accept the fact that Scott Hall isn't Scott Hall isn't Razor Ramon all the time, and yeah, that's it. Well, after that point, you understand the business. You understand that it is a work. Or you can go with it and say, yeah, man, I like the Razor Ramon character. You can go along those lines from there. To me, if you're going to ask me, I don't think the internet killed wrestling at all. I think without the internet, a lot of people would be less aware of what's going on within wrestling itself. You would have less people knowing about New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, a bunch of independent promotions, and a lot of great podcasts along the way. Without the internet bringing more awareness to wrestling, I think wrestling would have stayed as archaic as it did in the 1980s, where it was all about territories and people stayed within their gimmicks. And it creates a very unhealthy lifestyle. But I don't have a lot of time to explain that, because that is its own segment as well. But I'd rather have someone to discuss that with on a separate podcast. Anyway, so for what I have here for the match card of Survivor Series, I have the SmackDown women's team beating Raw's women's team. I have the Monday Night Raw tag team beating SmackDown's tag team. I have the Brian Kendrick going over Kalisto. I have Sami Zayn going over The Miz. I also have Team SmackDown losing to Team Raw. And then I also have, for the last match of the night, I have Brock beating Bill Goldberg. Keep in mind, guys, that you guys can follow me on Twitter at MarkF's Podcast, or you can follow me on Instagram at MarkFSModernlife. That's spelled out, Mark F's Modern Life. You can also tweet me all the time with subjects that you want me to talk about, etc. You can also do the same to me via Instagram if you guys follow me there. But anything else, you guys can hit me up via those social medias. And this has been the 2016 Survivor Series predictions and analysis. You guys have a good night. Thank you.